Hello everyone, welcome again. Today in this video, I'm going to start a topic that is your blood. So basically in this video, I'm going to tell you about the components of blood, what is the origin of blood, and how can we divide blood into different fragments, or what is a fraction of that fragment. So basically, if we talk about blood, then it is the part of 11th chapter, 11th class chapter, that is your structural organization in animals. So there we can say that there is a part of connective tissue. Basically, in that chapter, animal tissue is divided into four classes, that is epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue. And if I talk about connective tissue, that in the connective tissue, that there is a part that is your specialized connective tissue. In specialized connective tissue, blood is divided into specialized connective tissue is further divided into two parts. One is your skeletal connective tissue, and the second one is your fluid connective tissue. Okay. So basically, fluid connective tissue is like there is two example of fluid connective tissue. One is your blood, and the second one is your lymph. But in blood, in this video, I'm going to tell you about the blood. So that's why I will tell you in detail about blood. So starting with the blood is a connective tissue, that is a specialized connective tissue, and in this matrix is basically the fluid in nature. That's why it is fluid connective tissue. So starting with the origin of blood, so basically blood is mesodermal in origin. As you all know, I think that there is three type of germ layers: ectodermal, mesodermal, and endodermal. So the origin of blood is basically the mesodermal. Okay. So starting with the blood, the volume of blood in the body is approximately 4 to 5 liter. If I tell you about volume of blood, then it is 4 to 5 liter. If pH of blood is if there is a pH of blood, then pH of blood will be 7.4 to 7.2. The oxygenated blood is a little bit slightly like alkaline, or deoxygenated blood is slightly acidic. So 7.2 is the pH of acidic blood, and 7.4 is pH of oxygenated blood. Blood is divided into two parts. One is your plasma, and the second one is your corpuscles. We can say that formed element. So basically, blood is divided into plasma and formed element. Plasma makes the 55% of blood, and corpuscles or formed element makes approximately 45% of the blood. Okay, so here corpuscles are further divided into three parts. One is your erythrocyte, second one is your leukocyte, and the third one is your thrombocytes. Erythrocytes are also known as RBCs, leukocytes are also known as WBCs, and thrombocytes are called as platelets. So basically, I told you that blood is divided into two parts. One is your plasma, and the second one is your formed element. Formed element is further divided into three parts. One is erythrocyte, second one is leukocyte, and the third one is your thrombocyte. So basically, what is plasma? If I talk about plasma, then plasma is basically the blood minus cells. If I subtract if I will subtract the all formed elements from the blood, then it is called as plasma. Then what is a serum? Serum is basically the plasma minus blood clotting factor. In plasma, there are a lot of blood clotting factor. If blood clotting factors are removed from the plasma, then it is called as a serum. So there are basically three terms. One is plasma, second one is serum, fourth one is lymph, third one is lymph, and fourth one is your blood. So blood is a composition of your plasma as well as formed element. If plasma is basically the blood minus formed element. If all the formed elements like erythrocytes, leukocytes, thrombocytes all removed from the blood, then it is your plasma. And if in serum, if blood clotting factor like fibrinogen, prothrombin, and thrombokinase, thromboplastin all are removed from the blood, then it is your plasma. And what is lymph? Lymph is basically the blood minus RBC plus platelets plus macroproteins. So all the macroproteins, all RBCs, and all platelets, when removed from the blood, then it is called as lymph. Lymph is basically the colorless fluid specialized connective tissue in which there is no color. It is colorless. It is basically the white or transparent, or you can say actually translucent. And when you all know that RBCs gives the red color to the blood, because RBCs contain hemoglobin, which is the oxygen or carbon dioxide gases carrier. So we can say that if RBCs, plates, and macroproteins, some macroproteins are removed from the blood, then it is your lymph. So again, come back to the fraction of blood. So if I take a test tube, and in this test tube, if I fill this test tube with blood, then after centrifugation is basically a process in which you can use a centrifuge machine, and you can rotate the your tube, up and drop tube in that centrifuge machine, and after some time you will see that all the heavy particles settle down and all fluid suspended particles remain in the upper portion of your up and drop tube. Okay. So if in this Appendorf tube, blood is filled after centrifugation, blood is divided into two parts. One is your plasma and the second one is your formed element. Formed element, as these are heavy particles, they can get settled down at the lower portion of the Appendorf tube. And plasma, as it is a suspended particle, it is very light particle, it contains very light particles, so it remains in a suspended form. So plasma and formed element, these two elements combined together form blood. Okay. This is measured in per cubic millimeter of blood. This is a centrifuged blood sample. After centrifugation, when there are two layers, one is your plasma and the one is your formed element. Plasma is present in the upper portion and formed element present in the lower portion. If again plasma is divided into some factors, some proteins, you can some substances, some proteins or water. So these are the components of plasma. Components of plasma consist of three parts. One is your proteins, the second one is your water, third one is your other substances. Protein further consists of four type of proteins. One is albumin, second globulin, third one is fibrinogen, and fourth one is prothrombin. I am repeating it again. After centrifugation of blood sample is divided into two portions. One is your plasma, second one is your formed element. As formed elements are heavy particle, they can get settled down, but as the plasma is very light particle, consists of light particles, so it always remains in suspended form. There is a presence of buffy coating between plasma and formed element. Plasma is further divided into some part, that is proteins, water, other substances. Proteins are basically from the 7% of plasma, water from 92% of plasma, other substances from 1% of the plasma. Proteins further divided into four categories, that is albumin, globulin, fibrinogen, and prothrombin. Albumin is basically the smallest protein which is present inside the plasma. What is the function of albumin? Albumin helps in the osmoregulation of the blood. That is, it helps in maintaining the pH of the blood. What are the functions of globulin? As you already heard about the immunoglobulins, basically the antibodies that participate in defense mechanism. So globulin basically forms the immunoglobulin part of plasma, which helps in the defense mechanism. Third one is fibrinogen and fourth one is prothrombin. Basically, these are the clotting factor in blood clotting. Fibrinogen is your first clotting factor, prothrombin is your second clotting factor. So basically these are the two largest blood protein which act as a clotting protein. So all type of proteins are produced inside the liver, produced by liver. All proteins are produced by livers. Okay. Now talk about the globulins. So basically globulins are further divided into four categories. Globulins are further divided into four categories: IgG, IgA, IgM, IgE, IgD. IgG is gamma globulin, A alpha globulin, M mu globulin, E epsilon globulin, and D is delta globulin. IgG is very smallest globulin. It can cross placenta. IgA are present in all secretions, it is present in colostrum, which is the mother first milk. IgM, IgE basically participate in the allergic reaction, and IgD and IgM they are present on the plasma cell surface. Their function is not known as well in very detail. Okay, so now plasma consists of three factors: protein, water, and other substances. Now, water forms the largest portion of this plasma, that is 92%. Other substances consist of some ions, nutrients, urea, gases, and hormones. Ions are basically arranged in their decreasing order. Chlorine negative ions are present in most amount, in very high amount in plasma. Then Na positive, that is sodium ion, potassium ion, calcium ion, phosphate ions, magnesium ion, and bicarbonate ions are also present inside the plasma. Okay, nutrients consist of sugar and fat. Urea as waste product are also present in your plasma. Gases like O2, CO2, and some regulatory substances are also present. For example, your hormones. These all are present in your plasma. Okay. Now, come towards formed element. Plasma, the portion plasma complete. Plasma consists of three parts: protein, water, and other substances. All these components are complete. Now move towards the formed element which makes approximately 45% of blood. There are basically three types of formed elements. One is your platelet, second one is your leukocyte, and the third one is RBC, or you can say erythrocytes. So platelets are basically, these are not the true cells, they are the fragments of cells. Here you can see this is a big cell which is called as megakaryocyte, and when the fragments of these cells divided, fragmentation occur in these cells, then this fragmentation leads to the formation of platelets. Platelets consist of platelets are without nucleus. Megakaryocytes have nucleus, but the fragmented part of this megakaryocyte do not have nucleus. That's why platelets do not contain any nucleus. Platelets are basically oval in shape. What are the function of platelets? They basically help in the clotting of blood. 1.5 to 3.5 lakh platelets are present inside blood, and the lifespan of platelets are approximately 7 days. If in the dengue fever, actually in the dengue fever there is a decrease in platelet number. That's why there is a problem in clotting of blood, and this condition is known as thrombocytopenia. When in blood platelets number decreases, then this condition leads to thrombocytopenia. Okay, now second component is leukocyte. Approximately 6,000 to 8,000 leukocytes are present in normal human blood. In the infectious stage, number of leukocytes increased, which is called as leukocytosis. If due to infection leukocytes number increase, then it is called leukocytosis. But when due to any cancerous agent, number of leukocytes increase, due to oncovirus number of cancerous cells number of leukocytes increase, then it is called as leukemia, that is blood cancer. Okay, and when there is a decrease in number of leukocytes, then it is called leukocytopenia. The lifespan of leukocyte can persist from few days to few years. What is the main function of leukocyte? As you all know that leukocytes help in defense mechanism. There is a main property of leukocyte that it shows a diapedesis, that is amoeboid movement. It can squeeze out from any surface area between any cells due to its amoeboid movement, which is called as diapedesis. What are the types of leukocytes? Leukocytes are further divided into two parts. One is granulocyte, second one is agranulocyte. If granules are present in cell, then it is granulocyte. If granules are not present inside the cell, then it is agranulocyte. Granulocytes are further divided into three categories: neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils, and this is the percentage of cells which is present in these percentage of these cells which is present in blood. Neutrophil approximately 60 to 65%, eosinophil 2 to 3%, basophil 0.5 to 1%. If the number of basophil increase, then it leads to the infection. Basophil is the most important cell which helps in the allergic reaction, which can stimulate any allergic reaction. For example, basophil secretes some granules or some substances like heparin, histamines, and serotonin. Heparin is basically the anticoagulant which helps in the prevention of coagulation of blood. Histamine is basically the vasodilator which can dilate the blood vessels, and serotonin is vasoconstrictor which can constrict the blood vessel. Histamine and serotonin both are antagonistic to each other in their function. On the behalf of their shape of nucleus, neutrophils have multi-lobed nucleus, and the function of neutrophil is phagocytosis. It can travel very fast where infection occur, and it can lead to the phagocytosis of that particle, that infectious particle. Eosinophils are basically the anti-allergic and anti-helminthic. Its production stimulated by any allergy, by any helminthic reaction. Its nucleus is basically the earphone like bilobed nucleus is present in eosinophils. And talk about basophils, then basophil is basically the 0.5 to 1% percentage occur, and it leads to the production of some substances like heparin, histamine, and serotonin, and it helps in the inflammation. Talk about agranulocytes, then agranulocytes are monocytes and lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are further categorized into two categories, that is T lymphocyte or B lymphocyte. It helps in the cell-mediated immune system. Amount of lymphocyte is 20 to 25%, and if talk about the nucleus of lymphocyte, then it is basically the round in shape. Nucleus of monocyte is kidney shape, and the percentage of monocyte is 6 to 8%. Again, its function is same as of neutrophil, that it helps in the phagocytosis of any infectious particle. So it was all about the WBC. Now talk about the RBC. The lifespan of RBC is 20 days, and the amount of RBC present in blood is approximately 4.2 to 6 million. It can vary from in female or male. Main component of RBC is hemoglobin, which help in the exchange of gases. That is, it present in the 12 to 16 gram per 100 ml. Hemoglobin is basically the formed of two component, that is heme and globin. Heme consists of iron part. Globin is basically the consist of two polypeptide chain. One is 2 alpha, one is 2 beta, and 2 alpha chain are present in adult. In child, in like fetal stage, 2 alpha and 2 delta chain are present. What is erythropoiesis? Basically, the formation of RBC is erythropoiesis. Firstly, erythropoiesis occur in yolk sac, then spleen, then liver, and in adult, erythropoiesis occur in bone marrow. Sometimes kidney also help in the formation of blood cells, RBCs, that are erythropoiesis. RBCs is basically the cell which is biconcave in shape. All nucleus, all organelles and nucleus are absent in RBCs due to so that surface area can increased for respiration, for exchange of gases. That's why RBC is the main important cell of blood, because it helps in the exchange of gases. So it was all about the blood. Blood is mesodermal in origin. What are the three terms? That is plasma, serum, and lymph. What are the components of blood? Plasma and corpuscle. Corpuscle is called as formed element. Basically, corpuscles are further divided into RBC, WBCs, and platelets. What is the fraction of plasma and formed element? 55% plasma, formed element are 45% per cubic mm of blood. This is a centrifuged sample. Further, plasma is divided into three parts: protein, water, other substances. Protein are further divided into some proteins like albumin, globulin, fibrinogen. What is the main function of albumin? Osmoregulation. Globulin, globulin defense mechanism. Fibrinogen, prothrombin, help in clotting factor. Other substances include ions, nutrients, urea, gases, hormone. Now water forms a major portion of plasma, that is 92%, and these immunoglobulins help in defense mechanism. Talk about the formed element. Then formed element consists of platelets. Platelets are not the actual cell, they are basically the fragment of megakaryocyte, which are the large cell, and they have nucleus, but platelets do not have nucleus. The amount of platelets, leukocytes, and RBCs are given here. Lifespan of platelets, WBCs, and RBCs are also given here. What is the main component of RBC? That is hemoglobin. Hemoglobin consists heme or globin part, and it helps in the exchange of gases. Leukocyte further divided into two parts: granulocyte, agranulocyte. Granulocyte further divided into three parts: neutrophil, eosinophil, basophil. Monocyte and lymphocyte are the part of agranulocyte. So this was all about your blood. I hope you will like this video. Thank you, friends.